The Florida Gators are going to have a change at wide receiver with Caleb Douglas ruled out. We're going to talk about that, and Hayden Hansen joins the show here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. Happy Wednesday. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33. Just a reminder that Locked On Gators is now with subtext. So there's a link in the description below. What subtext is that you get a 14-day free trial. If you like it, then it's $5 per month after that, but we get to have one-on-one texting conversations. I'm going to be putting exclusive content on that as well. Probably going to get into some film breakdown there as well, which I'm very much looking forward to. But now to the topic at hand. Florida Gators play Vanderbilt this week. Depth chart is set to come out again this evening. I'm only talking about one difference here because it's kind of a big one. It's addressing the loss of Caleb Douglas. So one of the Florida Gators starting wide receivers, Caleb Douglas, of course, got hurt in the Kentucky game, which sucked. I think everybody that watches this knows that I'm a big fan of Caleb Douglas. I have been since he committed, and I've been very open about being a big fan of his since he committed. I like what he could bring to the table as a vertical threat, as someone that stacks defensive backs and gets going downfield. I like what he does in contested catch situations. We don't know how long he's going to be out. We just know he's going to miss time. He got hurt making that contested catch that brought the Gators to, I think, the 1-yard line. And then he was out and he was ruled out. And Billy Napier said afterwards that he's going to miss some time. Caleb Douglas on the year, 15 targets, 11 catches, so 73.3% when targeting Caleb Douglas, 136 yards, 1 touchdown, 12.5 yards per catch. He's got a long of 34, been targeted in contested catch situations 4 times, has caught it 4 times, 123.2 NFL passer rating when targeting Caleb Douglas. 158.3 is as high as you could possibly go. So Caleb Douglas, I mean, he made plays last year in big games in terms of blowouts, and he did that against Texas A&M. He was a part of that. He was part of the Eastern Washington game. I think he had a touchdown, maybe 2, but he's out for the foreseeable future. Now, that wide receiver spot is open. It is an outside receiver spot for the most part. Eugene Wilson III is the first name that I'm going to bring up because he's potentially going to be back this week. We'll find out more later, but I know that last week we were all expecting him to play and then he didn't. We were like, yeah, it's a pain management, or we were told it's a pain management thing, which to me just says he wasn't ready to go and he wasn't feeling good that day. Hopefully he's better for this coming Saturday. I think he adds just too much dynamic playmaking ability to justify not making him the guy. Like, I think if you have Eugene Wilson III, he adds a wrinkle to your offense as just his speed that you don't really have anywhere else in this receiver room right now. Or you have the speed elsewhere with Aiden Mizell, but I don't think you have the overall ability that Eugene has. But also, I think a big reason to say, hey, if Eugene Wilson III is healthy, he needs to be the starting receiver, is that he's the man that runs that jet motion. And jet motion is Graham Mertz in the shotgun or the pistol, and the receiver runs across the formation, runs across the entire field, go between Graham Mertz and the offensive line, and then to the other side. Ricky Pearsall's been doing that since Eugene Wilson III got hurt. That means that if Eugene Wilson III is back, he is the sweep man. That's huge for 2 reasons. 1, you add an actual sweep threat because Billy Napier does not like using Ricky Pearsall as an actual sweep threat there. Okay, you look at the first drive against Tennessee, and Eugene Wilson III was not only running the sweep, he was getting involved as a pass catcher with it. And even if it's just that little pop pass that we see. So Eugene Wilson III is an actual sweep threat to take the ball, and defenses will have to respect that, anticipate that, and adjust for that. Perhaps more importantly, it frees up Ricky Pearsall to, hear me out, run actual routes. Crazy, right? But Eugene Wilson III running that sweep allows Ricky Pearsall to work naturally as a receiver. He's easily, like by a huge margin, Ricky Pearsall is the best route runner on this team. He's one of the best route runners in the country. I know that a lot of us, a lot of Florida Gators fans are like, oh, like things are looking rough. You're missing talent at receiver. Ricky Pearsall is an NFL wide receiver. I think he's going to be late third round, early fourth round pick if he continues to play the way that he does. He's probably going to have a pretty good combine. So Ricky Pearsall is an NFL receiver. Let him run routes. That's what he's best at. He's good after the catch, yeah, but he is at his absolute peak, just running routes. Let him do that. And so Eugene Wilson III coming back, you start Eugene Wilson III because when he's running those sweeps, Ricky's running routes. And that's what we're looking for. Get the freshman on sweeps and the receiver running routes. Marcus Burke is another name that's thrown in the ring. He's the most similar to Caleb Douglas, just stylistically, like size-wise. Marcus Burke's a little bit bigger, but size-wise, I think Marcus Burke is faster than Caleb Douglas, but he's also not as good in contested catch situations. He's still good in them, by the way. I think Caleb Douglas is just very good in them, but Marcus Burke is still good in them, and I think he's your second best contested catch receiver right now. So with Marcus Burke, you have that in his physical skill set, just a vertical spacer, which I think everyone can appreciate, especially if we saw Florida kind of crank it deep a couple times against Kentucky. If Florida wants to continue adding that into their offense and hopefully, open up the underneath game and the run game, Marcus Burke's a pretty good option for that. He can run straight pretty fast. So let him do that. And he's also got more experience than pretty much any other receiver in this offense, as he's one of the few that have been here the entire time under Billy Napier. And of course, Marcus Burke was a Mullen player as well. And I mean, hey, he's good. Okay. I'm not going to lie to you. Marcus Burke is just good. I remember I wanted him to get more time when he was with Mullen, and I still want him to get more playing time now. Then the third name is one that every Florida Gators fan is pounding the table for, and they're so excited for. Justified, by the way. It's Andy Jean, the true freshman wide receiver. We know that Billy Napier said on, I can't remember if it was the post-game press conference or earlier this week in the press conference, but Billy Napier said, hey, Andy Jean's role is going to expand. We don't know how much, but we know that Andy Jean's role is going to expand, and Billy Napier has said it's because of the work that Andy Jean has put in to develop and earn more playing time and earn an expanded role. Is he going to be put into the starting spot? I'm not willing to say he's definitively not going to be put into the starting spot, especially because he's coming off an injury. It's not, or he's replacing an injured player if he is. Whoever is put into the starting spot here is replacing an injured player. This isn't just like, oh, they're just so incredibly impressive. Andy Jean can be very good. He's looked very good in the, 2 or 3 games we've seen him play in so far. But having an expanded role means you got to do it consistently. It means that you're going to be running routes all game when you're on the field, all game, and then you're still going to have to survive and play well late in the fourth quarter. So that's where the expanded role really plays a part, which I'm not saying I have a doubt for that. I'm just saying you can look really good in spurts when you're coming off the bench and you're fresh and you're going against other DBs that aren't as fresh. But as a starting role, it's completely different. If we're going to be completely honest here, it's going to be a combination of these guys. It's going to be Eugene Wilson III, Marcus Burke, and Andy Jean. In fact, it would not shock me in the slightest if the depth chart had oars, had these 3 names at the or spot, right where Caleb Douglas used to be. I'm curious who gets the most run. I'm curious who is on the field more in obvious passing situations like 3rd and long. I'm curious who is on the field right before the half, the last offensive drive before halftime. I'm curious who's on the field the last drive of the game if it's a close one. We'll see all that. But now it's time to shift from receiver to tight end. We're going to be joined by Hayden Hansen, Florida Gators starting tight end. But first, I do have to tell you today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion drive, and patience. Those things bring home the winning trophy. Also, what keeps your ride or die alive? eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need, get them at the prices that you want. It's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Joining me now for Locked On Gators, like he does every Wednesday, is Florida Gators starting tight end Hayden Hansen. And I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off right here. What happened versus Kentucky? Were they giving you guys looks that you weren't anticipating? Was it just I don't even know what to say at that point. Just what happened in that one?
Yeah, I mean, in this league, you can't go to road games and come out like we did on offense. We came out flat, had a bobbled pass for a pick, then had a crucial penalty on a punt. You just can't do those things on the road, you know. And then all of a sudden we turn around, we find ourselves down 2-3 scores. It's like, well, we're going to have to fight to come back, and that's definitely not the ideal thing you want to do with the SEC on the road, because then the crowd's into it, you know. I mean, our plan was to go in there, attack fast, get the crowd out of it, and play our ball, kind of like we did against Tennessee. Obviously, it didn't go as planned, and you just got to, you know, almost all of us as individuals have to just look ourselves in the mirror and say, did I do everything for the team, you know? And then just in practice, today we attacked it. We got to keep that intensity, you know. You can't get satisfied off of wins, you know. You're gonna get a reality check if so.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys look into this information or these stats or anything like that, but Gators are 1-7 on the road under Billy Napier. Is there anything you can point to as to why that is? Why it just seems like you just mentioned, like, can't show up on the road and come out flat? Is there anything you can point to for why that happens, or is it just what happens sometimes?
It's just how it goes sometimes, man. I mean, we were calling the right plays. They did their film study. They knew what was coming. But I mean, at the end of the day, we just have to go 11 for 11 and execute. If one person's off, then the play's off. And I think that showed up. So we're here to fix that. We're here to go 11 for 11 because, I mean, in my opinion, if this team can go 11 for 11 for all 65 plays we play in a game, then I don't really see anyone who can beat us.
Yeah, and I mean, pretty much every week this season, you guys have had some kind of different offensive line combination. That's not just part of, we're going to rotate in 2 tackles or 2 guards at one spot. It's been injuries pop up, and then going through practice isn't a full O-line that's going to be rolling out there Saturday. How difficult is it to find a rhythm as an offense when you're constantly shuffling in new bodies?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, it's really not a huge difference. People think because in practice we all kind of mix in together. I mean, the rules don't change. You know, we're all supposed to know what to do. So I mean, it's really hard to point the finger on like the injuries and the rotation. You got to put the blame on yourself. You know, Napier and the staff do a great job of instilling the plays, the rules. I mean, it shouldn't matter who's out there. It shouldn't matter if there's a true freshman or a redshirt senior out there. You know, we all should know what to do, the exact plays. We should all have a little bit of chemistry together. You know, and I mean that's what I went back to what I was saying about having to look in the mirror and ask yourself if I'm reliable. You know, you never want to be the guy that's messing up.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that a couple weeks ago, heading into the Charlotte game, Billy Napier was very open about he wasn't fond with how practice was going, and then Charlotte game happened, and then last week he didn't really talk much about it. He said it was better. What has preparation been like this week heading into homecoming and the Vanderbilt game?
Yeah, but we just have an awful taste in our mouth, kind of like how we spoke on it against Utah, came back and responded against Tennessee. That's what we fully plan to do now. I mean, Napier told us that there's only one way he knows how to get the bad taste out of his mouth, and it's to go beat a team at home. We haven't lost in the Swamp yet all year, so we're looking to keep that streak alive. And we also owe Vanderbilt some get back, so we're hoping to give it to them.
Moving on to positive news. This past weekend, you did score your first collegiate touchdown. Just what was that like? Also, a toe tap, by the way. A toe tap touchdown, by the way.
I mean, it was surreal, man. And my parents were at that game too, so I was kind of glad they got to witness it with me because they've been a huge part of my journey. But yeah, I caught that, man, and I was more excited about the fact that, oh my gosh, we got something going. Like, let's go. We're going into half with some points, you know. I mean, I caught it, turned around, I was like, wow, this just happened, man. You know, let's throw up a little celly. Let's go to the sideline. Let's get some points, you know. Let's keep rolling. I mean, I fully had the intentions of I'm gonna get back in this box. We're gonna win, you know. So I mean, I think that was great for our momentum at that time.
Yeah, and just how did that feel? Because you scored and immediately, like, Arliss Boardingham came over, and like it was just like team immediately came to celebrate. You're just like, what is that like? Where it's like you score the first touchdown of the game for the team, and it kind of felt like momentum was shifting, and everyone kind of running over. Just what was that like? Because I can only imagine. I know I was geeked. I can only imagine what it was like for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, everyone knows how hard we all work. So, I mean, when we get that chance, I kind of remind you of, dang, this is exactly why I work so hard, you know, and to see your brothers come over there and pat you on the back, and it makes you feel even better, you know. We're all working towards the same goal. I remember when Arliss got his first touchdown against Charlotte. I mean, I was all hyped too. I mean, we're excited for each other, you know. I mean, checking all the boxes. I mean, it's both of our first years starting, you know, so it's good to check off all those boxes and just keep getting better.
And I have to put you on the spot here. Do you want to explain the celly? Do you want to do it?
I'll go for it. So I don't know if many UFC fans watch this podcast or not, but Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira, when he was going to fight him for the belt, he on his little walkout, Adesanya was already in there in the cage. You know, he looked him down, put the bow and arrow, pulled it, gave a manly scream, went in there and took care of business, you know. So I mean, that's kind of the intent I had behind the celebration.
And yeah, I have to ask, was it planned or was it just a spur of the moment? Like, did you know that whenever you scored your first touchdown, you were shooting the bow and arrow? Or was it just like you scored and you were just like, oh, I have to just let it rip?
100%. I 100% do. I told my strength coach, Frank Ogas, he's a huge UFC fan too. I told him week one, I was like, if I get in that box, it's exactly what I'm doing. And I hope the camera gets it from the front, which it didn't. But that's what I was hoping for.
Are you planning on just whenever you score again? Are you keeping the bow and arrow, or are you gonna have a different one rotating in?
Yeah, so I mean, Frank told me, he was like, "You got to keep doing it until they get the angle right." So when they get the angle right, I'll switch it up. But for now, I'm gonna keep it.
All right, I just want you to know that if you ever turn to the camera, just do it. That's just,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's a little exclamation point there. But you did score your first touchdown in the red zone, 4 yards, I think it was. You used to play basketball, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm assuming you were a center or power forward, considering it was high school and you're a giant. Yeah. Have you ever just been like, hey, man, like we're in the red zone. I'm 6'6". Just throw that thing up and just watch what happens. Just treat it like a rebound.
Yeah, man, I'm all for that. I try not to be that guy like give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. You know, I kind of like to just earn the trust, and I feel like that's a pretty big step in the right direction. Not just with Graham and them, but with Napier being like, okay, this guy's got some swag to him in the red zone. So I mean, hopefully the ball finds me, and if not, I'll keep doing my thing and until the ball does find me. So.
Yeah, I mean, Arliss's touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, you were pass blocking on that play.
Oh,
so that's what you got to do in the red zone. That's what you got to do. And we know, like, this offense, they do have you and all the tight ends really work a lot in the trenches, whether it's run blocking or pass blocking. And just from your perspective, do you have a preference for how you're used as a blocker? Maybe not how you're used, as if that's a judgment, but like, are you more comfortable when you're blocking like wide zone, working a double team, pulling across the line in split zone or counter or anything?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll tell you my favorite in the run game is I really like double teaming with the tackle for a lot of reasons. One, it's if he gets a lot on him, I kind of get a glory shot on the hip. You know, I can pop it off. You know what I'm saying? Or I could just go man on man with the linebacker and just size him up. You know. I know my first play against Utah when I had that block out of against 20, I think. That kind of turned into a man. It was supposed to be with a tackle, but I just like those situations, because it's like, all right, I can make something happen here, because that the play is counting on you with the tackle to do your job.
Yeah, it was 20. It was Lander Barton. That was that was linebacker. Do you, or just as a tight end, is there like a real chemistry that goes with blocking? Like, is there a tackle that you're like, oh, we just kill these double teams together, whether it's Barber or Lindell Hudson or Damian George or anything?
Yeah, so I mean, especially with me, 'cause I'm mainly the blocking tight end. I have good chemistry with both of those guys, especially Damian, because during fall camp we were having communication issues with each other. We were having trouble getting the point across, so we really worked on that, and it was good for the season to start. So we communicate pretty well now, even on the road. So.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit of just like communication issues and then working like you and Damian specifically? I'm assuming, was it like, is it just like he's like, hey man, like hold the block a little extra longer and then move, or how do you? What kind of communication issues can you have? Is my point, and then how'd you fix it?
Yeah, it's more pre-snap, like with the mic and stuff. It's harder for the tight end because I need to know if he's working with the guard, if he's working with me, because it changes my assignment completely. And there was just times where he might have got a call and didn't relay it to me, or I had to make the call and I didn't relay it to him fast enough, So it's all about the speed and how we all get it processed, and we're pretty good at it now. So I was glad to see that growth.
And how much of that comes from Graham or Kingsley? Because I know that, the center is generally thought of as the QB of the O-line. And of course, Graham's the quarterback of the whole offense. So how much of that really comes down from either one of them and then relays out? Because Kingsley is plenty experienced as a starting center by this point.
Yeah, I mean, so Kingsley gets all the reads started. I mean, he calls out the calls that need to be made, and then we go from there.
Okay. And then I don't think we've talked about this, but I like to end on a kind of football, non-football note here. But in a month from the day this comes out, actually, you guys have Arkansas, which is the black uniform game, and we haven't talked about it yet. Are you looking forward to the all black? Or you're just like you think they look clean? Not so much. What's up?
We're all hyped for that game, though. That'll be a very special game. I'm hoping they give us black tights to go with it. So if they do, you'll see me in the tights too. I just want to go for that all black look. But if not, that'll just the doable stuff. But I can't wait to put that black helmet on, man.
Yeah, me neither. That's easily the game I'm most looking forward to. Hoping to be there myself. But thank you so much, Hayden, for joining me. As always, this was Florida Gators starting tight end Hayden Hansen. Catch him every Saturday playing for your Florida Gators, and every Wednesday on Locked On Gators. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. We'll be back tomorrow. We're looking at the Vanderbilt game. I mean, it's gonna be physical. That's what we know. But we're going to take a look into that one. We will be back to talk about that. The link to join the subtext is in the description. Link to join the Locked On Gators Discord is in the description as well. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Thank you so much for taking the time to actually listen. This will never be lost on me how insane it is that I get paid to do this. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33, and I'll see you all tomorrow.